In the spring of 2024, we did a Rick Steves Munich to Vienna tour. We arrived in Munich a few days before the official tour started. One of the side trips we took before the official tour was a trip to the Dachau Concentration Camp. This was not a trip for the joy and fun of travel. Exactly the opposite. It was more a trip of acknowledgement to the depths at which humans can sink in their inhumanity. It was also to honor the memory of those who suffered at the hands of that inhumanity. The camp is right outside the town of Dachau, and it was hard to believe that a concentration camp would be set up right outside a town like it was some sort of amusement park instead of a place of death. Dachau was built on the site of a former munitions factory. It was opened in March 1933, initially as a labor camp, but by 1938 it became the first regular concentration camp of the Nazi regime. This is the room known as the bunker. It was here that many tortures and interrogations were held. I can't even imagine what these people went through. There are plaques on the walls noting people's names of those who were particularly crueler than others. The stench of blood, sweat, and excrement just had to be overpowering. We just walked this hallway looking in the cells with no idea of what it was like, but nobody was talking. It was dead silence. This was a person's view of the world, possibly their last. In some rooms, there were plaques of who occupied the cell. The feeling of hopelessness and abandonment of all humanities as this cage was closed and that lock clicked. These are exactly what they look like. The outside area is now empty of the barracks and the infirmaries and the other structures. However, the blocks which had their numbers are still there. Odd numbers on one side, even numbers on the other. How organized in their madness. Although I looked around and did some internet research, I could not find or determine if there was an Islamic memorial in the camp today. But that didn't mean there were no Muslims sent here. There is a record of a British Muslim perishing here. How many people were killed approaching the walls, the gates, or the towers as prisoners just finally gave up all hope and committed suicide by getting themselves shot by the guards. The commandant's quarters were just outside the train track station area that brought carloads of people to the camp. As the war went badly, many others were sent here from the other camps. These barracks are recreations. They had concrete floors covered with wooden gratings. Each barrack was divided into 5 rooms, which served as both common rooms and sleeping quarters for roughly 50 inmates. There were a lot of young Germans touring there, learning about their past, fairly recent history. Unlike some other countries, they don't try to change or hide their past, hoping the openness will help to avoid it happening again in their country. We walked along the area to the crematory that had memorials on the pathways. The blood ditch is the small indentation in the ground next to the trail where blood could collect and drain after the executions. After touring the main parts of the camp, we could have gone to see the ovens, but by that time, pain and just plain disgust and the time left on the tour prevented us from going there. Even as the Allied forces continued their fight, Eisenhower foresaw a day when the horrors of the Holocaust might be denied. He invited the media to document the scene, and history and current events have proved him right. Anyone who thinks that it's only one culture or one race or one nationality that can allow itself to be led by others to sink to the furthest depths of inhumanity is fooling themselves and only needs to look just at the world around them today. This may have been a quick, not so much fun tour, but I will not forget it as long as I live, and I encourage people to take the time to go to these camps and pay respects to those who suffered, and be aware that there is nothing to prevent this from happening again except maybe our knowledge that it has happened before.